and welcome back to my channel. This is Paula with Lumina Pachis, and I have a word for today. And I am making this a little bit longer video only because it's a lot of what God is talking about, this wealth transfer. There's a lot that He is saying with a vision I just received last night and that He is allowing me to release today. And so last night at 2:11 a.m., which is very important, that number 2:11, the Lord woke me up in my sleep and I saw a mobile. And if you don't know what a mobile is, it's like that thing that hangs over the crib for a newborn baby. And I thought it was really cute decor until I decided to look into, like, is there a purpose for the mobile? Like, how did this get started, you know? And so the mobile is supposed to help develop that eyesight with the brain muscle that is still developing. So newborns are not born with like good sight. And so that's something that comes within the first few months of life. And the mobile helps them track. So it helps them visualize colors. It sharpens their emotion detection, their depth of field, and, you know, just the shapes of things. And then as they get older, they like start reaching and becoming more aware of what this is and the shape and just the gift of eyesight. And so when I saw this in the spirit, I was like, I don't understand. The one thing I will note about this vision was that it was full of money. Okay, it was all full of money, like coins, silver coins, and it had like 3 legs on it. And so I believe that was a representation of the Blessed Trinity and the gifts that are coming down from heaven, because 3 is also a number of promise. It's a good number. So that's the purpose of the mobile. It's also helpful for newborns to help them keep track of their movements and their hand-eye coordination. So it helps them develop that depth of field especially. So what is God saying about this vision? I finally discerned it today, and the Lord is saying that first of all, He's calling you a newborn because some of you, we myself included and many other prophets, we've been prophesying this wealth transfer and that blessings are coming, not just in the form of money, but like land and opportunities and strategies, strategic placements where God is going to move you to, so that you can be that leader for a region or whatever. Just like Joseph in a time of famine, Joseph was sold into slavery to Egypt and he grew up over there. And later on, even though his life was like pretty awful for a little while, eventually he came into the position. The Lord raised him up as pretty much like the prime minister of Egypt, and Pharaoh, he pretty much became just a tourist attraction, just like we see today with the monarchs. Joseph had the foresight to see what was coming and to plan. So not only did he see, he was able to plan. So not only is it important to carry a revelation, but to like do something with that revelation, to make it into a prophecy, to steward that for God's kingdom purposes. And so what is God saying with all of this? So first of all, like I said, He's calling you a newborn. Some of you have never come into money. Some of you have never come into some of these opportunities. And He's saying there's a timeline here. That's my point number 2, and that there is a timeline that you need to start preparing for. Your brain, just like a baby, it needs to start making that hand-eye coordination. You need to start like thinking, okay, if I were to receive this money right now, like what would I do with it? So start thinking about that and getting wisdom. And then point number 3 here, I have that the Lord is allowing us to visualize what is coming through the prophets because He wants us to prepare, obviously, and to make room for certain expansions in our ministries, in our lives, in our calling, in our leadership. The Lord is raising people up. And so what I heard the Lord say specifically was, keep your eye on the prize. And that's a very worldly statement. That's not a Bible verse, but we do see it in the Bible where in Philippians 3:14 it says, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God. And then in 1 Corinthians 9:24 we see, run in such a way as to get the prize. Like, don't, like, it's not enough for me to just receive this prophecy and, clap and be like, oh, it's such a good message. There's, you need to start getting to work. You need to start making the connection that this is coming. Just stop even doubting the fact that it's coming, because I believe that it's going to come quickly. 3 months. A newborn age, 0 to 3 months, that's when a mobile is useful for. So I do believe there's like this sense of timeliness in this vision that he gave me. And so the other really important note is that the Lord took me to Numbers 13. At this point in the Bible, it's the story of Joshua, and Joshua is now kind of the leader, and the Lord comes to Moses and he tells Moses, okay, gather 12 guys, 12 leaders, elders, and send them to the promised land to scout the land. The land, is what the Bible, has been up until now. It's the Exodus. This is what we've been, looking forward into, inheriting that land, taking possession of that land. And the Lord is saying, send my leaders so that they can scout the land. And so they did. They sent up one leader from all the tribes, the 12 tribes of Israel. So they sent 12. This is really important. They sent 12 leaders, and they stayed there 40 days, and they came back with all these reports. They were like, oh my gosh, we scouted the land, and the Canaanites live here, and the Amalekites live here, and the Jebusites live on this side of town, and that's all great. But then they were like, but here's the thing, they have giants living in that land. We can't even compete with that. But then you get this guy named Caleb, who's one of the leaders, and he's like, surely we can get the land. And he declares, I love this, Caleb declares that we can certainly take the promised land. And so here's the thing, this really upset God, because God had already told them that this is your land. And so because of the bad reports, and because the people in that camp were like, no, we're siding with the other 11 who are, being cautious, and, this is what it looks like, so this is what makes sense. He actually sent them back into the wilderness, and he said, your generation is not going to receive this. Why? Because you doubt it. I've brought you this far. I parted the Red Sea, not to, have you look at the Red Sea. I'm taking you across, and I'm guiding you by this pillar of fire and this cloud. And so it really upset the Lord when they didn't believe, that disbelief. And so the only 2 people that made it into the promised land were Caleb and Joshua. So you got the 2 people who made it, and then the 11 who doubted. So I just thought that was really interesting, and such a fitting story for the message that God is declaring right now through this vision. The 2 and the 11 a.m., that's what I woke up to. And then I came across this story of the two that believe and the 11 that didn't believe. And the Lord said, screw it, never mind. I don't even want your people here. The next generation is going to make it into the promised land. So, that's what ended up happening. And so that's the question, that the Lord is putting on our hearts. He's saying, are you going to believe the bad reports? Are you going to be believing the reports of the people out there? Or are you going to stand by my word, stand on my word, and what I have already declared that is for you, and walk into and possess the land? And that's what he's saying about us right now with this wealth transfer, this blessing transfer that we are getting. He's saying, now's the time to start working on that wisdom. Maybe I need to start tracking the market, the real estate market, the whatever it is that you feel that God has placed a promise for you right now. Be careful, because this is the interesting story about, this is the interesting point that I want to make about that story with Joshua and Caleb. There's a recession coming, you guys, and the recession looks really ugly. And that's not even prophetic anymore, it's happening. And the timeline is adding up with what I saw in the vision and what I'm discerning. It's lining up. And so what the Lord is saying right now is, are you going to believe that we're in a recession, or are you going to believe my word? And so this wealth transfer, and it's funny because I've been following this for a little while, and so many people, this is when opportunities happen. This is when people get rich. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity in many areas of the economy and the world. And so God is asking us to get ready, to get that wisdom. Maybe you need to take a class. Maybe you need to take an online class on something so that you can understand the movements of the market. Just like the mobile, the baby is looking at the movements and he's kind of like staring and staring and staring. We need to have that same eyesight on what God is asking us to look at. So I hope that word blessed you and encouraged you and gets you motivated for what is coming in this next season.